Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to today's webinar, Improving Your Customer Experience with Great Content. And then at the same time, I'm happy to introduce the latest version of HyperSTE 9.5 to you. This is me. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Barry Braster. I'm the Technology Director of Solutions and Technologies at Etteplan. Close to 20 years in technical documentation, and there's my contact information, barry.braster@etteplan.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn. Pleasure to host this webinar today for you, which is going to be about content and why it is a business asset. If we're looking at these macro trends, globalization, digitization, technologies, people, and sustainability, then what is the role of content there? Well, there's a compliance issue, of course. Ensure that you need to meet legal requirements with your documentation. So there's the IEEE standard, the ISO, and if you're in the military and aerospace field, there's S1000D or ASD ST100. But it could be that you have to save translation costs, open up markets, and those sorts of requirements. So people then, content should be aligned so that you have a global writing team that only has one voice towards your end customers. You should not really see if you have a global writing team, or even if they are within one country, you shouldn't really be able to see what person wrote what. It should all be quite aligned. And by having great content, it allows you also to create efficiency throughout the product lifecycle. So shorter time to market, get efficiency in installation, commissioning, and training, save and efficient operations, and of course, improving your aftermarket business. Great content will also help you to be future-proof, as it facilitates your digitization, IoT, and artificial intelligence industries, or strategies, I should say. So in that regard, content is rather important from all different kinds of angles. However, to make this work, we need intelligent content. And what does that mean? Well, content should be standardized, and standardization means something like not being able to confuse your end users with using different terms that may have different meanings, or using the same term that may have different meanings. That content also should be consistent, consistently used. It's great for your branding, but it's also great for understandability. Content should be reusable, great for translation cost savings. But again, also, if you have great content, then why not reuse it as much as possible? Granular, so you have snippets, important information, sometimes as molecular as possible. Structured content should be structured using XML, because it allows you to go to multiple publication formats without any additional cost. User-friendly, of course, as well as responsive. So your content should be easy to find, whether it's online or when you go over your books, your manuals. By the way, what I forgot to ask you is if you do have any questions, to save those for later. In other words, you have in GoToWebinar, you have the ability to ask any questions on the right-hand side. And then if you do have any questions, then you can ask them there, and I'll be happy to answer them for you. So that being said, let's go on to the next slide. The next slide is about how to proceed now. So we defined, hopefully, that content is a business asset. We defined, hopefully, that what content that needs to do, right? What requirements does content need to have? And so what is next? Well, one of the steps is to define your business goals. So is this going to cost me something to make content great, to make content really work for us and for the organization and for our customers? Yes, of course, but you need to define your business goals. There's always going to be a cost, but a cost always has a solution or a revenue attached to it. So what are your business goals? What are you trying to achieve? Is it just compliant content? Is it translation cost savings? Is it facilitation with artificial intelligence? What are those business goals? And of course, you don't know where you go until unless you don't know where you've been. So also take a look at what is your content costing you right now. And that's not just looking at your technical writing team, but how efficient are your maintenance procedures, for instance. So are your end users of your content, are they able to do maintenance as efficient as possible? Is there not really any time lost there? Because, for instance, if a service mechanic takes too much time to find information in a maintenance manual, and then even being able to understand it clearly, it may take additional time. So those are the types that may not necessarily be easy to find, but they are very important because that will actually get your ROIs and your business goals in place. And one of the things that you need to do in order to do that is, again, like I mentioned in the previous slide, is to standardize your terminology. Are you working with a style guide? Great, but are you do you have any way to enforce your style guide, to have that one voice towards your customers? And standardization of terms, again, means one word, one meaning. So if you have multiple words that could have the same meaning, or if you have one word that could have multiple meanings, that means you can potentially cause confusion with your end users. That could have liability issues, or just basically negatively affect your branding. Train your content developers. So that's not just the technical writers, but also your subject matter experts or your engineers, basically anyone who is involved in the technical documentation creation process. Because technical writers could provide great content, but then if it goes back to the SMEs and they say, well, that's not what we call it, because we've always for the last 30 years called a certain component a certain name, then that's not going to help you. So everyone needs to be involved, or at least the people that are going to be affected by this particular strategy. Then we have a tool that I'm about to show you that can help you check your work, basically, but I'll talk more about that in a moment. And then, of course, analyze your content as well with metrics on quality and efficiency, so that you know what content, which parts need to be improved, which parts you can leave alone, and in order to, again, meet those KPIs. So then HyperSTE, so it's been in use now, I would say, for 17 years. So with 9.5, we are celebrating HyperSTE's 17th birthday. So it's been quite some time. I've been have the honor and also quite happy the fact that I've been involved in this for all that time. But it's available for a number of authoring applications from Word, Arbitex, FrameMaker. You see the list here, and I'm happy to announce a few new integrations today as well. But it helps you to check for compliance with style guides, terminology, writing rules, whatever type of writing standards you may have in place, and you can also customize it. It helps you through reports to get insights into quality and metrics. And last but not least, it's also important to mention that it's available both on-premise as well as a cloud version. Some survey results on how HyperSTE and great content in general can help you with your business goals. It can save up to 30% in translation and localization costs. Thanks to the training, actually, we see, and we've trained over 3,000 writers worldwide now, we see that there's an average of 40% reduction in word count, because writers learn how to stick with the need to know and not so much focus on the nice to know. 30% reduced product cycle time, 40% reduction overall documentation costs, and again, it will help you to create future-proof content that will allow you to publish concise information through mobile devices or augmented reality applications. Because again, whether you use that short and clear sentence in a manual, or whether you need that in to publish on the phone or in an augmented reality application, it's going to go places. And the shorter and more concise you are, the better it is to find your information, and also is to understand your information. So HyperSTE 9.5, what's new? We now support through the portal that is the Microsoft Active Directory. So if you have an Azure account, that means that we support single sign-on. So if you sign on through Microsoft, it means that you automatically are also signed on to HyperSTE. And as a result, we allow you, regardless of the number of licenses that companies can have, we allow you to actually, for the entire organization, to view the terminology. And why is that important? Again, for that one voice aspect. So whether you are in marketing or engineering or legal, it's important that we have access to terminology so that we can see what terms are allowed and specifically also what terms are not allowed. Again, in order to avoid confusion and create more consistency and one voice towards your customers. We continue to use a basic version that only works for Word for freelance writers, but we extended the professional and enterprise version with additional plugins. And those plugins include Visual Studio and Visual Studio Code, as well as a Chrome plugin that does not yet work with Edge, but works great with Google Chrome. And within that environment, you're able to get HyperSTE support in authoring tools like easyDITA. And I say authoring tools, but of course these tools are more than authoring tools. They're content management systems, or whatever name you want to give to them. Great tools. Adobe Experience Manager, Atlassian Confluence. It's a great tool, and of course for Gmail as well. That being said, let me take you on a quick ride to how it all looks. When you log into the portal, and again, this does not apply to the on-premise version, it works a little bit different, but when you get onto the portal, you have the ability to, for instance, go here to admin, to within your account, I'll go to Etteplan here, have the ability to define the number of users. We would of course do that for you. You have your Azure tenant ID here, so that you have the ability to use single sign-on. Supported applications are listed here, and then you can basically assign as many users as you want. That's right, you heard it right, as many users as you want, but based on the licenses that you purchase, only so many can use them at the same time. You can have different roles. Roles for admin, terminology viewers, terminology managers, technical writers, allowing you very much flexibility, give those people the rights to update and manage your terms, which are in your dictionaries right here. So in here you also have the ability to enter into your terms. You can create different profiles, which you would do here, and those profiles allow you to basically create profiles that would allow you to work against certain rule sets, and you have the ability to define whichever rule sets they need to be. We categorize them in terminology, spelling, grammar, length, style and structure. So if we go down here, there's some STE rules, but also some Microsoft writing style guide rules down on the bottom here. So we basically took the best out of all standards, and some miscellaneous rules here on what you would like to check for. But you have the ability to create different profiles that will allow you to check for any type of rules that you want to. We allow for conditional checking as well, which means that you can load DTD or styles or fonts from your documents, and then let HyperSTE check against whatever type of profile you created. So only check for terms, check for procedural text, check for descriptive rules, etc., whatever it is that you would like to do there. There's an online editing environment that you have the ability to simply copy, paste, check, create reports straight here from the portal. And from the terminology center, you have the ability to, the terminology managers, that is, those who have those rules, or I'm sorry, that role assigned to them, have the ability to approve or not approve words, select whichever dictionaries they would want to work in, etc. So it's quite user-friendly, where you have the ability to manage your term quite efficiently. Again, terminology viewers have the ability to simply view the terms, look up terms, and that's the only thing that they can do. But as a technical writer, you can actually add term candidates. As a terminology manager, you can then approve or not approve those. And as a company admin, then you can do all of the above, as well as add users. Same goes with sentences. So you have the ability to work with a sentence database that would allow you to reuse, not just on a word level, but on a complete sentence level. And under support, you have the ability to find the latest information and any type of support. So the idea is that whenever you start working, you can go into the portal, set the dictionaries that you would want to work against that particular day. We allow you to work with up to 3 dictionaries. Project dictionary that overrides the secondary dictionary, and the secondary dictionary overrides the primary dictionary, which is the STE dictionary in this case. current profiles, you can load those here, as well as which conditional checking profile you would want to work against. So then going to Adobe Experience Manager. So I'll do a quick demo how it all works in these online authoring tools. So we now see that there's a new button here on the left-hand side that you can click on. Oh, it's allowing me, it's needing me to first access HyperSTE, which is great. Then it's going to check my writing, and within here you can see that simply with hovering your mouse over it, you see a new information window. So this is a bit of an upgrade from what we have normally done, where you can basically just start doing word for word replacements and get all other types of feedback. So if you click on the text again, it's going to allow you to create a report. It found 58 errors in this particular file. Open up that report, and we see that we have a summary compliance rating here, and that would be the compliance rating for your organization based on your profile and your dictionaries that you have loaded. Readability, flash Kincaid grade, translatability, all sorts of ratings here, some document statistics, and on the bottom, high to low frequency on the error classes and how we're doing there. Detailed results, you have the ability to, again, through drop down, get information on very specific levels. In case of verbs or not approved words here, we see what category we're in, what dictionary we are in, and which words are not allowed and how many times we did that. And we can do that through style and structure. So there's like omit conjunction that. So, you know, you need to write, please do this to make sure that, for instance. Because the conjunction, the word that is actually better for translation. It's also specifically by non-native English speakers easier to understand, but I'm going too much in detail here. Parameters showing which parameters you're using, as well as a reference card with all the writing rules and how they are weighted and looked at. So that's in Adobe Experience Manager. Then if I move on to easyDITA, great tool. Same thing, so you can click on this and you can get feedback in here. So can stay, okay. So you can look at possibly or can, no, that's the correct synonym, and then do word for word replacements there. easyDITA, great tool, where HyperSTE is also embedded right here. You can see that through the Chrome plugin right here on the top of the screen, that it allows you to do that. You can actually, by clicking on it, assign the auto check, meaning that if you are making any changes as you are writing, it's going to recheck the compliance rating for you as you do that. So when you click on that, you see this 36%. Well, that will then automatically jump up once you have approved this or made it better thanks to the feedback. But you can also simply disable it for this domain if you don't want to be bothered. You want to work with it in easyDITA, but not in Gmail, for instance. Then you can set that right there. Yes, moving on to Visual Studio. So Visual Studio, it works a little bit different based on what Microsoft allowed us to do, but you have your window here on the left that allows us to check content. And then here, same thing, we can make changes by just hovering with your mouse over it. It's really awesome the way it now works, very user-friendly, and make those changes there as well. You can from here create again a report on one document or on multiple files. You can do this on hundreds of documents, thousands of pages for that matter, and again get your reporting right there. So also works quite nicely in there. And then the additional benefit here is that on the left-hand side, so in addition to getting your messages by hovering over these words, you also have the ability to do it through this window over here and start making word-for-word replacement that way, if that is more user-friendly to you. And then Visual Studio Code works a little bit different here, but that's again having to do with what Microsoft allowed us to do. So we have the same function as the if you're used to using Visual Studio Code, then you're probably quite familiar with this, but you can click on it or again hover with your mouse over it and then do a quick fix by replacing that word with, in this case, procedure. So all works quite nicely, and again it's rechecking everything just to make sure that the compliance rating goes up, of course. So that concludes this portion of the webinar, which means that I'm going to open up the room for questions. So feel free to ask them to me right now. And if you do want to know more, then you can also request a free booklet, which is this, the front cover here. It's 112 pages that we only sell ourselves on the last 2. So it's quite informative. It talks about the, well, it's the 4th edition, but still talks about the history and what you know, clarity in content means, and it's a full explanation. Great booklet to have around. We'll send you a free PDF of it. We also offer free business case analysis. That means that you can send us your content. Maybe we have to sign an NDA, no problem. And we would then simply do a free analysis and let you know how the use of controlled language or simplified English can help you improve your content for your specific business needs. Visit simplifiedenglish.com, where you can actually get a free 14-day trial of either the basic version for Word or the professional version for basically everything else. You can do that right there by simply signing up, or you can email me, barry.braster@etteplan.com, or call me on any of these numbers down here. For those of you who want a copy of the slide deck or simply the recording afterwards, we offer that, of course. So simply let me know. We will, of course, to anyone who registered for this webinar, we will send out a link to the recording, so you don't even have to ask me. But if you do have any questions afterwards, please feel free to contact me.